Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Elyse Wilson, chair of 501cFREE, and co-chair Dr. Jason Nataupsky. Episode 7 of the now virtual, On the Stacks podcast. Dr. Jason Nataupsky and Elyse Wilson. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Fabulous.
So, I don't know about you guys, but you can't tell because I have a virtual background on my Zoom right now, but I'm actually sitting in my my closet, my walk-in closet. I actually literally have a table and a lawn chair set up, and I'm actually in my walk-in closet because it's the most quiet place in my house. So where are you guys at?
First of all, you totally got me 100%. I was like, wow, that's authentic. He went to the warehouse to do the podcast. So
we were on the stacks for a minute.
You thought you were.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. I happened to be in the kitchen where who knew that I was as crafty as I am on day 27 of this quarantine situation. Yeah, I'm pretty much learned how to use every appliance in here and the grill. So I've got that going for me.
And now a podcast.
Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in the guest bedroom. I've locked myself in here away from
Noises.
my 3-year-old. Yeah, we got a noise barrier going on. So
good. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. And unfortunately, we can't be in the studio, so this is the next best thing. And I got the background here to make you guys feel like somewhat we're there.
exactly.
So let's get right into it. Elyse, do you want to talk a little bit about 501cFREE and how did the two of you get connected with this whole thing? Like, tell me, how did it start? What is it? And why you two? Why the both of you?
So Jason and I are both members of the Westmoreland Club and have used it both socially and professionally for many years. And last year, Robert Williams, who is the COO of the Westmoreland Club, came to me and said, I'd really like to do something different in the next year or two with the mission and the vision and the values of the club that we really haven't done before. Obviously, we've been established since 1873. We're a cornerstone of Wilkes-Barre and Luzerne County, but we're kind of seen as a social club and, a little bit of a upper echelon and not really doing as best we can to embody what our vision truly says, which is to care about, influence, and give back to the surrounding community and engage in philanthropic outreach. So I said, all right, I'm always up for some kind of crazy challenge. What do you have in mind? And he said, I don't know, like think about it. What's really different and out of the box that other folks aren't already doing, that's not going to be in direct competition with some of these organizations, but rather can help them. So started kicking the tires on it about a year ago, and just iteration after iteration came up with something unique where we could say, we've got a platform, we've got a really amazing network of individuals professionally and also philanthropically at the club that can do some great things. How can we garner that attention and enthusiasm and roll it out on a larger scale? And so we came up with the bones of this, and then he said, okay, well, who do you know that can help you get it to the next level? Right. I mean, there were only two names that came to my mind, Jason Nataupsky. He's engaged, he's enthusiastic, he's young, he's effervescent, he really can capture a room. And when we're looking at the demographic that we're trying to appeal to here, it really is a millennial, Gen X, Gen Y generation, because this is where everybody connects to the why. And so if we can really get the wheels going and the engines roaring, then we're just naturally, I think, going to create that energy and excitement with everybody else. And so I called Jason one day. I said, I know you've got a lot going on, like a 2-year-old and a baby on the way and a thriving dental practice and a wonderful wife and all of those things, but I really kind of need you. And he said, oh my God, what? So I told him, and I'll never forget, I was sitting on the front porch and I started to tell the story and kind of the why behind it and what our vision was. And before I was even done, he was like, I'm in. I'm 100% in. I think this is amazing. We can really do this. And I was like, I knew I called the right guy. So.
Yeah. And I mean, it was one of those things where, I moved back here from Philadelphia in 2013 after dental school, kind of coming home to family and to the practice and to all that the Wyoming Valley has to offer. And then when Elyse called me, I was at a point in my life where I had been established for a couple of years and I was looking for some way to kind of integrate myself into the community while also being able to kind of simultaneously give back. And that outside of my own profession. When she talked to me about the concept, it wasn't even wasn't even a decision for me to make. It was 100% resounding yes, let's go, full force, hit the gas, all in.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, what is the goal? I know there's a dollar amount you guys are looking to raise. You guys got a ton of nonprofits involved. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, so it's interesting when you ask what the goal is. I'll be honest with you, no real goal here. The goal, and it's crazy to hear that.
Oh, that's okay.
The goal really is to enrich our community through creating awareness for some of the most amazing organizations that make our community what it is. Very nice, guys. Yeah.
You like that?
Me, yeah. And I guess the goal here, much more so than a number, would be to get as many organizations as we can involved in this initiative so that we can benefit as many organizations as we can through our initiative. It's kind of crazy. But to answer the question, and Elyse will agree with me here, our goal that wasn't written down was 50 organizations. We surpassed that. We have 52 organizations. Actually,
Awesome.
as of today, 53 organizations
Congratulations.
participating in this. Yeah, it's amazing. First year, unbelievable response. Amazing.
That's so cool. So you guys have some partners that are involved, right? I mean, you guys have a couple of partners. I think Wyoming Valley BMW is one. There's probably some others that I'm missing. So whichever one you want to talk a little bit on that. Tell us who else is involved, what they're doing, what's their contribution, how are they helping?
Yeah, to start, when we started to, pull together this idea and try and codify it into something that we could actually roll out, I knew, I had a very great mentor for many years that said, surround yourself with people smarter than you and then get out of their way. And you'll always look great every time. So that's really what I tried to do. So we had MLB Advertising, which is Maslow, Lumia, and Barbarello. John has been amazing. Scott Saravello from Westmoreland Worldwide, who created the website for us. And Brock Siegel, who is just a SEO and SEM genius with Omnitize, really put together what you will see when you go to our website and what you see when you go to our Facebook page and what you see in the videos and the still shots that were, the creation of the campaign. So those three partners completely, put their hand up and said, this is a great cause. We love what you're doing and want to be a part of it. And so I can't thank them enough, and they've been amazing. Jason, one day we were sitting at lunch, and of course this kind of like ideology came out of his head, and he said, what if we wanted to get a bigger sponsor involved that could possibly match something or do something that it would benefit them for some airtime, but also it would benefit these organizations. And so he made some calls, and sure enough, Steve Ubaldini from Wyoming Valley BMW answered the call and said, absolutely, I think this is amazing, and I want to do it. So he threw in $2,500 and essentially matched the first 500 votes. So instead of $5 each, they get $10 each, which is incredible.
So So they're matching 2,500. How much did you guys already raise?
So we have counted and verified 648 votes. So if I do the math on that, we're, about $6,500. 48 times 5, we're real time, 3,240 plus 2,500. So we're at 5,740.
That's fantastic.
We're at 5,740, and there's still 17 days left in round one. So we have, I think between what Brock is now doing to optimize the Facebook, and I'm posting the stories and the photos, and everybody is sharing the content. I think it's kind of like the horse race, right? When you get down to that final leg of the race being the last week of round one, I think, we'll really start to see some big numbers put on the board, which I'm excited about.
One really unbelievable partner who has been really instrumental in making this whole thing happen is the Luzerne Foundation. The Luzerne Foundation is the group behind the scenes that is making sure all of the monies collected are being allocated and going toward the appropriate places. So, again, another one of those amazing organizations that's been a huge integral part of our community, stepping up to the plate, just out of the goodness of their heart and their want to enrich the community, saying, yeah, we'll do that. And it was, one of these amazing things when, Elyse initiated the conversation with Mr. Charles Barber. He was like, yeah, let's do it. And once again, one of these crazy moments in, the long journey and evolution of this this thing that we've got going on that just worked out. It just fell into place. It was amazing.
That's great. And I think one of the things I kind of want to touch on a little bit is the fact of all these people in NEPA, coming together to put this together, to make this successful. What's, each of you, like, what's your favorite thing about NEPA?
Oh man, are we talking about pizza?
Good.
It's a no-brainer.
That's such an easy and a hard question to answer for me, because I grew up here, and before I left town, I thought that Dairy Queen only existed on Wyoming Avenue in Kingston.
Yeah, right.
It's like that small community aspect, that family aspect. You can't get any more real than that, and especially in times like we're experiencing right now, people helping people in times of need. That's and programs like this. That's kind of like, that's where I want to live. The capacity that we have to help this amazing place and the place that we live and enrich it and allow for it to thrive, or at least help that process. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Elyse, what about you?
So admittedly, I have never lived anywhere else. Born and raised here. I'm from Idetown, if that means anything to you. I went to Wilkes University, and really just because of a certain set of circumstances, never dipped my toe in anywhere other than Northeast PA. But I was really fortunate enough over the past 12 years of my career to travel a lot with work. My headquarters were both in Philadelphia and Charlotte, North Carolina, and did, a tremendous amount of international travel. So I got to be exposed to a lot of different regions, a lot of different cultures, and a lot of different amazing people. And when it came right down to it, there was a common thread to conversations that I would have with people. And that was, you're really easy to talk to. You're really down to earth. Thankfully, I had all of, my wits about me enough to know that they were, they were giving me a compliment, and that I think that I'm pretty grounded, and I'm very aware of my surroundings and what I get to be exposed to, but also very, very thankful that I live in a place where I feel comfortable with my daughter playing outside and going to a friend's house and being at a school soccer game without me having to worry. And not everybody gets to have that. So from a business perspective, I'm very fortunate to have been able to, bring back to the Valley what I've learned over the past 12 years, and now be able to create jobs here locally and grow industry, and that's amazing. But really, I have a lot of family here, and that's really, really important to me. It's important that my daughter sees that and feels that, and we can always travel, and those are experiences that, they're priceless. But being able to come back home is really special. So the Westmoreland Club, the reason I joined the Westmoreland Club many, many years ago was to be able to give my daughter opportunities and experiences that I had, growing up. And it's been so much more than that. And I thought, if we can kind of kick it up a notch and really and truly get people to understand what it is that the Westmoreland Club does, which is so much more than just, fancy parties and dinners, then we're on the right track, and we're moving in the right direction. And I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime or my daughter's lifetime or the next lifetime, but these are really important stepping stones that I think we're putting in place that, they're invaluable.
Yeah. And, Jason, you and I had a conversation that maybe a few weeks ago, I forget when it was, but you kind of touched on the same thing that Elyse just said about the Westmoreland Club and being able to give back to the community. And I think that's so important. And I think it's great what we're doing here. And, can you touch a little bit on that too? Like, I know you said at one point when we talked a few weeks ago, you said something like to the effect that, there's maybe a misconception of the members of the club, and that, maybe they don't give back enough to the community or whatever it is. But I think this 501c right now really just squashes that. And do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. So, I kind of am on the same page with Elyse. When I joined the Westmoreland Club, it was about the opportunity. And although I didn't have children at the time, I do now. And even more now than ever before, I realize that some of the opportunities that the Westmoreland Club brings to me as a member, I never had. And I'm grateful for that. But also, I recognize that in my first couple years of membership, just like so many people we know, on Thursdays we would go to have a couple drinks and some pizza, and which is fine and great, but I needed more. And that more was this. It was a way, an avenue, I guess would be a better way to say it, for me to get out there, for me to not be Jason the dentist, but me be Jason, the person who's giving back to the community. And, it's made me feel very whole, very, very fulfilled through this whole entire process. I can honestly tell you that there hasn't been one day. A lot of it is thanks to Elyse Wilson, but there hasn't been one day where any of this work has been stressful. It's all been very gratifying, and it's amazing. I recently read an article in the in the New York Times. The title of the article was called "The Science of Helping Out." And the premise of the article basically was, in short, during crisis, the people who cope best are those who help others. And it really resonated with me because that's exactly what I'm doing. And maybe it's because it was the way I was raised. Maybe it was because, Elyse has had kind of laid out this platform for me to just jump on and kind of run with. But it feels good. It really feels good, Bill. And we're doing really, really valuable things. I always say that the organizations, the 501c3 organizations that make up this value are some of the most important organizations in the community. They almost create this scaffolding, almost like a building, like a backbone, if you will. And without them, I think a huge piece of our life as we know it wouldn't exist. And that's for me, for you, Bill, for you, Elyse, but also for our kids and future generations that Elyse was kind of referring to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my next question is, what stage are we at right now? I know we're still in the first stage of voting. And I recently, I was a little late to the game here, but I finally cast my vote for my one of my favorite nonprofits. You're both smiling because you probably saw it come through. Yeah, I obviously had to do it before this podcast, so I don't look like a schlep. But yeah, so I, one of my favorite nonprofits is Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I just cast my vote for them. I also nominated them.
That's awesome.
So where are we at right now? So you said there's still like 13 days or so left of this first voting stage, and what's next? What do people need to do next?
17 days left. So we have until May 1st. And, I think, Bill, it's interesting, and Jason kind of touched on it just with the article that he just mentioned in terms of a time of crisis. And I think we would all be a little remiss if we didn't mention what's happening right now with COVID-19, right? We never anticipated that this would happen when we started putting this together and rolling out a timeline and all the other parts that go along with this. And one of the things that forever I have done in my life is to try and find the silver lining in things. So given a not so great situation, what can you find in it that is good? And, it really quickly became aware to me as this started to unfold weeks ago, that we had a really unique opportunity to help these organizations even more than they even realized when they signed up for this. Because as COVID became more and more of a, we're going from 50 people to 10 people to now we're sheltering in place. These organizations have had to cancel and postpone some major, major fundraising opportunities. And those are what fuels them in the months to come, to be able to do all that they're doing. So knowing that, and knowing that we've got a relatively captive audience sitting at home spending a substantially higher amount of hours on their computers and their phones than they might otherwise have, and knowing that these votes only cost $5, which really they're all saving every day because nobody's going to Starbucks or Dunkin'. So we can use those resources to get behind our favorite 501c3s. I think that this is the silver lining that we were looking for. I don't think that it is going to do what Casa Sings is going to be able to do for Casa, which was a huge event that they put on. I don't think that it's going to do what March Madness did, but I think that this is a way that it can at least help these organizations maintain somewhat of the donations that they would have otherwise been receiving. So we go through May 1st with the first round of voting, which is $5 per vote. All of that goes toward the organization, by the way. They receive $5 to, regardless of whether or not they move on to round two. And just to be clear, there is a 41-cent charge that PayPal as a merchant service fee does tack on to that. We do not take any of that. The Luzerne Foundation does not take any of that. It's a complete pass-through right to PayPal. But once we get the top 15 from our 52 participants, they move on to round two. And round two is the month of July, and that is $10 a vote. So we up the ante just a little bit. And currently we have no limit on votes per day, per person, per organization. So vote early and vote often.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so now you know.
Honestly,
go back and hit up Big Brothers a couple more times.
Big
Brothers, Big Sisters.
As silly as it sounds, I literally thought like you only can cast like one vote.
No.
Now you're on the hook.
Wish I would have asked that question now.
Yeah.
I'll tell my good friend Eric Mahler that you're going to be going back and happy clicking tonight.
Yeah.
And then currently we have planned our reveal party for August 15th. Obviously, that's subject to change depending on how things go and where we end up on the other side of this. But I'm hoping and praying and really keeping my fingers crossed that everything works out the way it should be, that we're continuing to flatten the curve, and that we're going to be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy. And that event will be at the Westmoreland Club, where all 15 The organizations that move on will be there with representatives, with other club members, and we will reveal the grand prize winner, who gets a $5,000 credit, food and beverage credit to the club, and then also becomes the beneficiary of the 2020 Acts of Kindness Luncheon, which I think last year it was over actually $6,000 when they ended up doing the total tally. So there's a lot to be gained here, both in exposure and monetarily. And, you know, I talked to one individual from an organization, and I won't share their name, but they said, you know, we have a whole bunch of things going on and we don't really know if it's the right time or the right opportunity, and will it take away from what we're doing? And I said, well, would exposure to your organization and potentially, instead of votes, you can garner volunteers or folks who would be board members or in other ways support the organization, would that not benefit? And this person said, well, you should be in sales because that was really good. And I said, no, you know, everybody has a different reason for being a part of this, and it doesn't always have to be financially driven. And I think that's what's really important. So if you're sitting at home and you don't have $5.41 to give, and sometimes, you know what, that's the case. We're in really, really challenging economic times, and we get that. Think about giving your time. Think about looking at some of the stories behind these organizations and what they're doing and why they're doing it, and see if maybe you want to get involved. And that can make a huge difference.
Definitely. So, you know, everyone's already cast their votes. There's still a couple weeks left. How can people learn more about 501c3? Where do they need to go? What do they need to do?
Well, I'd say the first place that they should go is to Facebook, and in the search bar, just type in 501c3, and you'll be directed to our site. There you'll be able to find some really amazing information about the organizations that are in play. You'll hear about their why, and in certain circumstances, you'll see some cool pictures for you to see some of their recent work. But you can also go to our amazing website. It's www.501cfree.info. And
not to interrupt, but I just want to make sure this is clear that people understand. It's 501c3 as an FREE, because some people listening may think we're saying 501c3. So
That's
just to
right.
be clear, it's 501c3 FREE.
.info. And it's 501cfree.info, and you can find a ton of information on that website about not only the program itself, but the people who are participating. That's where you're going to be able to vote, and also make sure that you complete that vote with the payment portal at the very end of that process. And I think that, again, we're trying our hardest, especially in this time, to make sure we're getting the word out. And it's up to us as a community to make sure that some of the biggest players historically, who have kind of helped so many people do so many great things in our community, who need us the most now, get that exposure, get that help. Because now is the time. This is when it is. And, you know, we wouldn't be able to have reached this point without some of really amazing help from people and groups like the Greater Wilkes-Barre Chamber and the Times Leader, and again, the Luzerne Foundation, the Westmoreland Club, and many, many other people who are kind of like the silent partners, the people behind the curtain, just making it all happen out of the goodness of their heart.
Good. Is there anything else? I think we're going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes, but is there anything else that I may have missed, or anything else that you guys want to maybe touch on real quick, about 501c3?
Real quick, and again, I think Jason and I did not even rehearse this, but we riff off each other really well. He mentioned the chamber, and the Wilkes-Barre Chamber has been around forever, and really under the leadership of Lindsay Griffin, who is the COO extraordinaire, has just done incredible things. And she answered the call immediately and said, how can I get involved and what can we do to help? I mean, it was zero hesitation. I had met with Joe Boylan a few weeks prior at just having coffee at Abide, which is a great little coffee shop in downtown Wilkes-Barre, if you haven't been. And he said, you need to talk to Lindsay. This is right up her alley. She will love this. So he put me in touch with her, and, she said yes. And Ben Eaton, they're just amazing. And it dovetails so well with part of the mission that they're trying to execute, which is, again, to give back. And so the kind of manifestation of this program and how COVID-19 has impacted it is interesting, because one of the really important facets of this was to give all of the participating organizations an opportunity to get together and network and learn from each other, and then also give them opportunities to learn from industry experts. So we're in an interesting quandary where we can't get people together physically, but we still have amazing technology, and so we're going to be using that. But you would be absolutely blown away by the number of professionals locally who have put their hand up and said, I want to help, whether it's from a legal perspective or an HR perspective or a marketing perspective or an events perspective. And so part of what I had my vision of this program ultimately being was, yes, these organizations are going to raise funds. And yes, ultimately one of these organizations is going to win a grand prize. But these organizations are going to have tools in their toolkit that are going to help them become bigger and better and more successful, and have a network of like-minded individuals that are going to make them knock it out of the park. And so if we can do that, if we can really make an impact on these smaller, more emerging organizations and get them mentored with these larger organizations like the United Way, who is just doing amazing, incredible things, everybody wins. And so that's really the in-between part of this program that not everybody is going to see, but I feel like it's the heart and soul of the 501c3. And we're going to have to make sure that happens virtually at this point until we can get together in person, and we will. But I think that really Lindsay and Ben and Joe at the Chamber helped Jason and I get that to the next level, and really are going to be able to make that come to reality, which I can't wait for.
Awesome. That's excellent. Jason, any last words?
Just short and sweet. The thing that makes this so great is that it directly impacts our community, and we have a small community, and we love that small community. And like I said, these organizations are the backbone to it. And I can honestly say that in speaking with and corresponding with some of the heads of these organizations, they are so very grateful. They are nothing but grateful for any help whatsoever. This is like nothing they've ever seen before. No program has ever been established like this in the Wyoming Valley. And I'm grateful, and I know that Elyse is unbelievably grateful just to be a small little part of this. So yeah, like Elyse said, get out, vote early, vote often, and let's show up for our community.
Awesome. Cheers. My
Cheers.
my drink here is kind of ran empty, so.
Well, you're in a closet.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, what else can I do? I'm sitting here in my closet. My wife's like somewhere in the house. Like I told her, like, don't come knocking on the door, because I'm in here recording. So
is she taking a dive into a glass of Bordeaux? Because I saw that one yesterday.
Yeah, yes. Maybe two or three of them.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. By the way, Elyse, do you have a Penn State shirt on? I can't really tell. Is that?
Absolutely, I do.
Awesome.
I bleed Nittany Lion blue.
Are you a Penn State grad?
No, Wilkes, if you listened earlier on the podcast.
You did. Yeah, I guess clearly I wasn't paying attention.
But my uncle and my cousin both played for Joe Paterno. So
Awesome.
I get to go to the Letterman's Club, and I'm
That's
as Nittany Lion blue as they come.
Yeah, me too. Alum here.
Oh, see, you did me one better.
Yeah.
Jason likes the Patriots, by the way. Should we talk about that for a second?
Ooh.
And this is where we end the podcast.
Yeah. So on that note, I think we are going to wrap it up here. So Thank you, Jason Nataupsky and Elyse Wilson. 501cFREE, 501cFREE.info, and check them out on Facebook. Thank you both for joining me on another virtual On the Stacks podcast.
Thank you, Bill. It was our pleasure.
So much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill. You're the man.
If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag On the Stacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on the Stacks.